You want to go as high as where you could keep the dumbbell over the shoulder joint, keep the weight all on the shoulder. Yeah, the key on that is just not locking out and giving your shoulder a break, because when you lock out, it's all on the elbow and tricep, not the shoulder. Cable upright row. Now, if the free weight straight bar hurts your shoulders, I recommend doing these, but lighter. And the good thing about the cable is it's constant tension, so no room to cheat, and that's what really helps bring the pump out. All right, let's do a drop. And the big key on these is, so when you're up here, fully flex your shoulders. So shoulders are not tight. When you come up, shoulders tight and flexed. On free weight, you could go heavier, but this is not a movement you're trying to go really heavy on, so definitely recommend the cables for these. It depends on the machine, but on this one particularly, I like to face outward. And when I'm doing them, I don't like to hold onto the handles. Now, I don't like to do that because I like to keep the arms in a natural position. So you want to imagine you have dumbbells in your hand, you're doing a regular lateral raise, and that'll help you connect better and just put the arms in a more natural position. When I have my arms like this, holding onto the grip, I feel a lot of forearm gets involved, and I'm not able to isolate the delt. And when you're doing these, think about, I like to think about pushing someone away from me, a natural motion. So I try to think about pushing people away from me and holding a dumbbell in my hand. So that's a big key on this. All right, let's do a drop set, light it up, and do a longer range of motion. Now, some people will tell you not to go high on lateral raises. Because they said they'll activate the traps. I don't mind it, like going this high. I feel it more. Of course, you get some trap in there, but anything to get that extra contraction. Whew. Yeah, when it comes to majority of exercise movements, extra range of motion is going to be beneficial. A lot of people can't do it though because the extra range of motion becomes a little wear and tear in your joints and ligaments. But if you could do it, by all means, you might get a benefit. The number one rear delt exercise, in my opinion, when on these, I like to angle out a little bit, and when you have the contraction, hold it so you get your mind muscle connection going. I'll do a drop. So notice how I'm angled out on here a little. I'm not against the pad. I'm slightly angled to get a better contraction. Now, a lot of people are going to say that they only feel this in the back and not their rear delt. And that's going to be true for most movements, but it's all about your mind muscle connection. So only think about your rear delt and flexing that. And of course, you're going to get the upper back and traps involved, but you'll still get a lot of rear delt in there. Next, we got easy bar front raise. And for these, I like to hold the contraction slightly for like a second or two, and I like to get an extra range of motion. So just go until your shoulder joint feels good. But like I said on the other video, the longer your range of motion, the more likely you're going to get a benefit out the movement. So for these, hold the contraction and lengthen the range of motion. And I like to keep just like a medium grip like that. Oh. Yeah, you can do that with dumbbell, straight bar, easy bar. First time I did an easy bar in a while, and that curve to the bar, honestly, I felt a better contraction on it, so give it a go. We have my favorite trap movement, and these, it's important to keep your arm in a fixed position, and when you come back, slightly bend your elbows and angle it a little towards to your back. Yeah, I really do think dumbbell is going to be superior to barbell because you can't angle it backward because, if you're a barbell, it's going to hit your waist. So definitely recommend dumbbell for shrugs. Yeah, man, that rear delt. So this line right here is going to dictate really how big your shoulder looks. Always, besides rear delt training on shoulders, I recommend doing at least 2 to 3 rear delt movements for shoulders whenever you can. Because, the front delt's the easiest. You get down a lot of press. Everyone knows the lateral head. It's the rear delt that gets lost, man. Yeah, you cannot lose sight of that. That was a good shoulder day. For shoulders, man, like I was saying in the posing video, rear delts, major key. I recommend you do 2 side laterals, 2 rear delts. You could do 1 front delt, 1 trap, and 2 presses, or you can just do 2 for everything. Now in this video, I just show 1 of each because there's only, it's only so much I could do on video. But this video shows 1 of each, 1 lateral, 1 front, 1 rear delt, 1 trap, 1 press. But, if that's not enough volume for you, then, double up on both of those. Do 2 laterals, 2 rear delts, 2 front raises, 2 presses, 2 traps. And, it's not the biggest muscle group, so that's going to be plenty. But you really need to find the right volume for your training. Some people work better for low volume. Some people work better for high volume. Some people right in between. It's going to be different for everyone. Me, I've done both. I would say I did high volume coming up, and now I do a little more lower volume. And that's just a testament to my muscle connection, my training techniques getting better. So when you're a beginner, I recommend cranking out volume because each rep is practice for your mind muscle connection to connect with that muscle. So if you're coming up, go with volume because you can only do low volume if you know how to train properly and really stimulate the muscle. So always start with high volume. Then once you get more advanced, then you can go to low volume. But, if you're just starting your journey, it's all about mastering that mind-muscle connection. You got to be locked into that muscle and be able to target it stimulate it, isolate it, exhaust it, so on and so forth. Now, when it comes to traps, you could do traps on shoulder day or back day. I like shoulders. I've done them on back day though before, but I feel like on back day, my when I do my shrugs, my back gets a little activated too much because I have a pump back there. When it's pumped on shoulders, I feel like I get it more in the traps. So that's why I like to do them on shoulder day. You can try them both, see which one feels better for you, and always go off feel, man. Because if you can't really feel it, you're most likely not really getting the most out of it. I mean, of course, there's going to be, when you're coming up, there's going to be some movements that you know are hitting a muscle, but you just can't feel, and that's all mind muscle connection, guys. I took off yesterday, so I did upper, lower, and then I took off. I did back and hamstrings, and it was a great idea because I'm really fresh. I got a good pump. I'm glad I did it, and I think I can only go 2 days in a row. Maybe I could go 3, but what's best for me right now, what I'm feeling is 2 days on, 1 day off. But just all off feel. I wasn't like that sore, but I was sore a little bit. Any soreness is a sign that you should probably take off and let those muscle fibers heal. Because when it comes to building muscle, a lot of times less is more. But yeah, we have arms tomorrow because these arms need to come up. And it's not like a lot of people hear me talk about my arms that they need to come up, but it's not like they're small. It's just my arms are very long. So I have a lot of space to fill. I mean, I'm 10 years in. I've filled up this much space, but, genetically, some body parts could only get so big, So it's not like I have small arms, but it's never going to be like I have huge arms, I mean, maybe one day, but there's a point where you kind of max out your genetic potential and your physique. It depends what you really want to take. Like for me, I don't want to gear up. I care about my health, and I don't like how I feel when I do that. So you can only go so far naturally, but I'm happy with how I look, and that's a big part of the game that people don't really realize, because especially with social media, you're constantly comparing yourself to the best physiques in the world. Like I know I'm not going to look like Chris Bumstead, but for my life and where I'm at, I feel like I look good, and you should always like how you look, even if it's not where you want to be. You only get one body, one life, so you might as well enjoy it. Even when I was coming up, I mean, you got to be hungry, right? You got to be hungry for more and more, but you still need to kick back and appreciate and realize what you built and be thankful for it. So let's say you are 25 years old, right? And you're not feeling as big as you want to be. So remember, if you're 25, remember when you were 15, 10 years ago? And then think about if your 15-year-old self saw you today, if they would be impressed. And honestly, for most people, it's yeah. My 15-year-old self would look at me now and I'd be like, wow, I had no idea I would get that big. So, life is perspective, man. And never compare yourself to anyone. Always compare yourself to yourself, and if you don't see progress, then you should make a switch. But evaluate your physique, have a goal, and let's say you see some shredded guy in the gym, and now it makes you want to cut down. Yes, it's true, but you should really do what's best for yourself and not compare yourself to him. If you need to get bigger, you shouldn't do that many cuts. I mean, I know the body responds better in a leaner state, but you really need to do what's best for yourself and not compare yourself to anyone. But that's enough life talk on the cardio today. I will see you in the car. Shoulders complete. Little lighting check. Yeah, shoulders, man. Woo. I'm telling you, man, delts are, when it comes to a physique, delts are one of the most important, bro. You want to be wide, you're going to have big delts and big lats. One thing about having big shoulders, when you wear like a short sleeve t-shirt when you go out, it just pops, man. Pretty good pump. I'm definitely satisfied with it. Working on that rear delt line, like I said in that posing video, when your rear delt is developed, your shoulder just looks twice as big. That, the lines, man, the lines are key. Just find that volume that works best for you. And when it comes to volume, your volume should be strictly dependent on what you can recover from. So if you can't recover from 15 sets, do 10 sets. And slowly over time your endurance will build up and you'll be able to handle more and more volume, more and more weight, so on and so forth. The volume is key because if you do too much volume and you overtrain and you have genetics like me, you're just going to get skinny. And if you say you are a bigger guy, you do too much volume, overtrain, yeah, it can help you burn fat. But when you're training, if you train when you're sore, man, it's just so. For me, it's not really worth it, man. Especially if you have a hard time taking off, you need to find any little reason to take off. I personally, I train sore all the time, but nowadays I don't. So I like the upper lower split, then rest. So you do your upper body, your lower body, then rest. And I'm recovering really well from that. So I had a day off yesterday, but I felt, 100% recovered in the gym. No soreness, good pump, just fresh, that fresh feeling, and just makes it way more fun, man. So find that volume that you can recover from and then slowly up it. And if you're not getting sore, change your training methods or your technique or tighten up your form to where you are getting a crazy pump in that muscle to where you are going to be sore. Because like I said, man, I wasted many years thinking, oh, it's like, I see these guys online. They're like, oh yeah, you don't have to be sore. And that's, when it comes to fitness, there's no rules. So it's kind of true. You could do kind of anything. You could be a construction worker, never lift weights, but lift heavy objects around and be jacked. It's like your body could develop from anything you put it through. We had the sleep talk last video, but my sleep has been great. I don't really know how much I get. I'm gonna guess around 7 to 9 hours. And another thing about shoulders is, you don't have to do a front raise because you get a lot of front delt and shoulder press and chest press. I like to throw them in anyway because why not hit the whole muscle while you're hitting it? Because the blood's already there. It's easy to move it around. And, I'm a big believer in just hitting the whole overall muscle to get that whole overall bigger look. So when it comes to everything, every muscle, you should hit every muscle. I even like to train forearms on arm day. Just a good reminder, I will train forearms tomorrow. You've seen me train forearms in my other videos, but you should hit every single muscle, man. You should train it. Glutes, hip flexor, abductor, calves, traps. Those are all the details when it comes to physique. And it will just, whenever you see a pro, like a pro bodybuilder, it's always astonishing to me how well developed every single muscle is. Like even the small muscles, like their rear delt, their calves, their traps. When it comes to physique and life in general, the small details is what really, really matters and what really brings everything together. So don't, just because it's not fun to train or it's not a large muscle group, doesn't mean you should train it. You should train every muscle, and I recommend once to twice per week. But that was good for the car talk today. Good shoulder day, was a success. Feeling pumped. Right now I'm about to go eat a bunch of food and drink some EAs and walk my dog, and you guys should know by now. But I will see you tomorrow for arms on the next video, guys. So until then.